Adult proportions. Proportion refers to the relative size and positioning of different parts in comparison to one another. Understanding the correct proportions of the human face is essential for drawing it accurately. Variations in these proportions give each individual their unique appearance. The illustrations on this page demonstrate how to determine the appropriate size and placement of facial features. Once you grasp these fundamental principles, you can adjust them to capture the likeness of your subject. Begin by sketching an oval and lightly drawing horizontal and vertical guidelines to divide it in half. In an adult face, the eyes are positioned along the horizontal center line, typically spaced about one eye width apart. The nose is aligned with the vertical center line. Children's proportions. The proportions of a child's head differ from those of an adult. For instance, in children, the horizontal center line aligns with the eyebrows rather than the eyes, as their foreheads tend to be larger. Additionally, children's eyes are typically rounder, larger, and set wider apart compared to an adult's. To accurately place the facial features, use horizontal guidelines to divide the area from the brow line to the chin into 4 equal sections, as illustrated in the diagrams below. These divisions will help determine the correct positioning of the eyes, nose, and mouth. Adult noses and ears. For beginners, it is helpful to practice drawing facial features individually before attempting a complete head sketch. This approach allows you to resolve any challenges beforehand. It is much easier to draw from a live model or clear reference photos, rather than relying solely on imagination. Observe your subject from different angles, paying close attention to the shapes and planes of the nose, as it plays a significant role in defining a person's character and personality. As illustrated on the right, start by sketching the basic structure using simple lines. Then refine these lines into gentle curves based on the unique shape of the individual's nose. The ear can be divided into 3 sections, making it easier to identify its fundamental shapes and ridges. Typically, ears attach to the head at a slight angle, as shown in the illustration on the left. The width of the ear is generally about half of its length. To draw an ear, begin by outlining the overall shape, as seen in Step A, and lightly sketch the ridges. In Step B, start shading within these ridges to create depth. Finally, add the darkest tones while keeping in mind that light areas, known as highlights, are just as important as shadows in defining the form. Additionally, this diagram illustrates how the nose changes with age. These details are essential for achieving realism in drawings. Over time, the tip of the nose begins to droop and tilt downward, which should be considered when drawing different age groups. Adult, eyes, and lips. The eyes play a crucial role in expressing a person's mood and emotions, making them the most important feature for capturing a subject's likeness. By practicing the examples on this page, you can improve your ability to draw eyes accurately. Focus on the facial planes surrounding the eyes, and after outlining the basic shapes, start shading to define their structure. A sharp pencil is particularly useful for rendering the creases and corners of the eyes with precision. The shading should create a sense of depth, emphasizing how the eyes are set into the face. As you move away from the eyes, the shading should gradually lighten to create a natural transition. Before drawing the lips, take time to study their different planes and carefully observe their shape. To enhance their fullness and dimension, be mindful of where the highlights fall while shading. Proper placement of highlights will help create a more realistic and 3-dimensional appearance. Children's ears and noses. Start by carefully observing your subject's features before sketching the basic shapes. As demonstrated in the examples below, use shading to develop the form while keeping it soft, smooth, and delicate. Begin with a light outline of the ear or nose, as shown in the illustration. You may also mark areas that will require darker shading to create depth and dimension. Children make wonderful drawing subjects due to their energy and innocence, which bring a unique charm to their features. Children's eyes are typically rounder, with the surrounding skin appearing smooth. To capture their soft, innocent expression, use delicate lines and gentle shading. Pay attention to the position of the iris. Both the upper and lower eyelids should partially cover it. Practice drawing eyes from different angles to improve accuracy and expression. A child's mouth is narrower than an adult's, and the lips have a soft, pouty look. Highlights play a key role in conveying their smooth texture. The corners of the mouth may feature small dimples, as they slightly indent into the cheeks. When drawing teeth, suggest them as a group with subtle shapes rather than outlining each tooth individually, avoiding a common mistake that can make the drawing look unnatural. Women's profile. Once you have practiced drawing individual facial features and memorized their proportions, you can begin sketching the entire head. Observe the profile illustration below, which starts with a simple outline and minimal shading. Consistent practice is key to improving your skills. So don't be discouraged if you need to use your eraser frequently. Even professional artists make mistakes. Over time, you'll become more confident in laying down the basic structure with just a few lines. In Step A, begin by sketching a curved guideline for the profile and add reference lines for facial features. In Step B and Step C, draw the features along these guidelines and refine them into recognizable shapes. Even a minimalistic drawing requires careful attention to detail, so take your time to ensure accuracy. For the hair, use a blunt-pointed pencil to lightly indicate its general shape, adding only a few lines as shown in Step D. Although the facial features are not heavily detailed, a simple rendering like this can still capture a strong likeness of the subject. Use an HB pencil to establish the proportional guidelines in Step A. In Step B and Step C, carefully outline the basic shapes of the features, checking proportions before proceeding. Finally, refine the lines, suggest the hair, and add subtle shading to the lips and nose for a more polished look. This drawing features slightly more developed details than the previous exercise. Keep your hand relaxed and aim to draw with your whole arm rather than just your wrist. This technique helps create smooth and natural lines. Men's profile. In these profile drawings, clothing is introduced as a new element. The goal is to ensure that the clothing appears natural and integrated into the drawing rather than looking like an afterthought. To achieve this, always include the clothing in the initial sketching phase. In this example, the man's body is slightly turned forward while his head remains in profile. This positioning is evident because both the tie and collar are fully visible. You can suggest clothing details with just a few simple lines. Step A. Begin by sketching the basic proportions of the facial features. Step B. Add the hat, keeping in mind that it should fit around the head rather than simply rest on top. The hat's rim will cover the top of the ear, and the crown of the hat will extend slightly above the head. Compare this male subject's sharper, more angular features, such as a stronger jawline, thinner lips, and a more defined nose, to the softer, more rounded features of the female subject on the previous page. The wrinkles on this man's face indicate that he is older than the previous subject. Additionally, since he is in a full profile position, the perspective of the tie, shirt, and jacket differs slightly. Step A. Start with basic guidelines to establish proportions. Step B. Develop the facial features while refining the shape of the head. Continuously check proportions for accuracy. Step C. Sketch the outline of the collar, tie, and jacket to complete the composition. For the final details, consider using charcoal or a brush with black Indian ink to enhance elements such as hair texture and shading on the tie. Before applying ink to your drawing, practice different stroke techniques on a scrap sheet. Finally, add subtle smile lines around the mouth to bring a sense of realism and character to your portrait. Children's profile. A gentle and delicate approach is key to capturing the youthful essence of children in drawings. Simple renderings like these require minimal shading to maintain the smooth, soft appearance of their skin. Start with a basic block-in technique, using a curved guideline along with horizontal strokes to establish the placement of the eyebrows, eyes, nose, mouth, and chin, as demonstrated in Step A. In Step B, sketch the facial features and outline the hair. Carefully observe your reference to ensure correct proportions. As you refine the features in Step C, use loose flowing strokes to suggest the movement of waves and curls in the hair. A few well-placed lines are enough to indicate the hairstyle. There's no need to draw every individual strand. For this particular drawing of a young boy, the block-in approach differs slightly from the previous exercise. Here, the full outline of the head is sketched first, followed by proportion guidelines. However, feel free to use whichever method suits you best. In Step A, lightly outline the head shape using short, quick strokes. this might be a bit challenging since the head is not in complete profile. If you observe closely, you'll notice a slight portion of the right cheek is visible, along with the eyelashes of the right eye. Continuously check your proportions as you progress. In Step B, begin refining the block-in lines, darkening and smoothing them to develop more defined features. For the final stage, enhance the form with subtle shading. Softly add depth within the smile lines, under the chin, near the hairline, and in the parting of the hair. You can also experiment with slight adjustments to the facial expression. Try raising the eyebrows, widening the eyes, or slightly opening the mouth to see how these changes can alter the overall look and mood of your subject. Frontal view of a woman. When drawing a face from the front, precise placement of the facial features is crucial. Pay close attention to the proportions. Small details, such as the spacing between the eyes, can significantly impact the resemblance to your subject. Unlike in a profile view, where alignment of the eyes is not a concern, in a frontal view, symmetry and positioning play a key role. In Step A, begin by sketching minimal proportion guidelines. The two lines shown help establish the correct placement of the features. As you gain confidence in your observational and drawing skills, you'll find that you can start with even fewer guidelines. In Step B, refine the facial features and loosely suggest the hair. To complete the drawing, add depth by shading key areas such as the eyes, nose, and lips. Keep in mind that facial features are rarely perfectly symmetrical. One eye is often slightly larger or positioned differently than the other. If you want to enhance the sense of depth, practice shading along the natural planes of the face and around the eyes. This subject's features differ from those in the previous exercise. Here, the nose is much thinner and the eyes are set closer together. Adjust these details in the initial sketching stage to maintain accuracy. Use an HB pencil to lightly block in the proportions in Step A, then refine the features using the guidelines in Step B. For the hair, use loose and flowing strokes to maintain a natural look. Quick sketches like these are great for improving your drawing technique, so practice frequently to build confidence and skill. Men's three-quarter view. The three-quarter view may seem more complex than the profile or frontal view, but starting with the standard proportion guidelines will make the process easier. Take your time and observe carefully to ensure accuracy in your drawing. Start with charcoal during the block-in stage and follow the steps outlined. When shading, apply dark, bold strokes to define features like the eyebrows, mustache, and beard. For this subject, the eyes have a strong intensity, so shade the irises with deep tones while leaving small white highlights to maintain a lively, expressive look. Pay close attention to the subject's facial expressions, as these contribute greatly to capturing likeness. To enhance your skill, practice drawing individuals from different backgrounds and ethnicities, depicting various styles of dress. Use reference photos from books or magazines to guide your work and help you study different facial structures and clothing styles. Replicating a master's artwork is a fantastic way to refine your artistic abilities and deepen your understanding. As you replicate, consider why the original artist made certain choices and use those insights to enhance your own work. Begin by blocking in each facial feature with swift, assured strokes as shown in the steps. Focus on identifying the fundamental shapes in your subject, then fine-tune them to capture a true likeness. In this drawing, most of the shading and intricate details were created using brush and Indian ink, while charcoal was employed for the initial sketch and guideline layout. To depict thick, dark facial hair, the brush and ink technique was used for added depth and texture. Children frontal view. When drawing children, your style should reflect their youthful nature. This particular subject is portrayed with simple shapes and lines to maintain that innocence. Use smooth, polished lines with minimal shading to capture the fresh, youthful look of the child. In Step A, begin with an HB pencil to sketch the basic outline. Be sure to apply the proportions specific to a child's face. In Step B and Step C, continue refining the features, focusing on the large eyes and soft, pouty lower lip. In this drawing, the vertical guide is slightly off-center, as the young girl is not directly facing forward. This will assist in accurately placing the facial features. Start with the basic shape and guidelines in Step A, using an HB pencil. In Step B, block in the features. Pay close attention to your subject, as the positioning of each feature can vary depending on the child's age. A common mistake beginners make is over-detailing the teeth, which can give the impression of dentures. Instead, group the teeth together as one larger shape to maintain a more natural appearance. To achieve clean lines, go over your pencil drawing with a felt tip marker once you are satisfied with it. In Step C, refine the features. Adjust the proportions if needed based on the angle of the head. Finally, add shading to create volume, keeping in mind the direction of the light source, which in this case is coming from the right. Old women. The portrayal of character becomes more intricate with advanced rendering techniques. For instance, the elderly woman on this page presents a stern and serious expression, while the woman on the opposite page conveys a sense of kindness and gentleness. Start as shown in Step A by applying the usual proportion guidelines to block in the face. In Step B, begin adding shapes to represent wrinkles and loose skin. Notice that the shading is bold and strong, which helps depict the rough, weathered texture of the skin. As people age, certain features begin to sag and become less symmetrical. To evoke a different mood from the previous page, this woman has small, sparkling eyes and delicate hands, creating an expression that conveys compassion and empathy. Study your own hands and practice drawing them on scrap paper, as hands can be challenging to capture accurately. Pay attention to proportions to ensure precision. For instance, the length of the hand is roughly equal to the length of the face. Are there any other hand proportion rules you are familiar with? Begin by sketching the guidelines for the features in Step A and lightly blocking in the ears, nose, and mouth. In Step B, Step C, and Step D, continue refining the features, adding deep lines to represent wrinkles. Finally, use shading to emphasize the aged appearance. To gain a fresh perspective on your drawing, step back and assess whether you've captured the right mood and personality. If the tone feels off, make necessary adjustments. Old man. When drawing elderly men, you can experiment with various techniques to capture details such as wrinkles, thinning hair, and the signs of aging. Pay close attention to these features for an accurate representation. In Step A, observe how the eyebrows slope slightly downward, giving the face a somewhat concerned expression. To refine the features and hairline, use bold lines in Step B. Begin shading with diagonal strokes, adjusting the direction to follow the contours of the uneven surface. This drawing utilizes two mediums: a chisel-tipped 6B pencil for shading the face, and a brush with black Indian ink for the darkest details. Feel free to experiment with different drawing tools to achieve unique effects. As always, start with quick proportion guidelines and then sketch the basic shapes of the features, including the mustache. Once you're happy with the sketch, develop the form using shading. Regularly refer to your subject, ensuring the proportions and shapes remain accurate as you refine the drawing. The diversity of the world. When drawing individuals from different ethnic backgrounds, it is essential to carefully study their features and proportions. While certain characteristics may be more common within specific ethnic groups, every person is unique. These exercises will challenge your observation skills. As always, start with proportion guidelines and a block-in sketch, especially for this young boy depicted in color. Pay close attention to defining features such as large, round eyes, a broad nose, and full lips. The eyes, being particularly dark, create a striking contrast against the bright highlights. For shading dark skin tones, use charcoal or a soft lead pencil, applying even parallel strokes across the face. Preserve areas of white for highlights, particularly on the tip of the nose and the center of the lower lip, to enhance the dimensional effect. For the Asian girl, adjustments must be made due to her head being tilted forward. This perspective, where the chin is drawn closer to the chest, requires foreshortening, meaning the face appears shorter while the top of the head takes up more space. In Step A, notice how the guidelines have been modified to reflect this change. Observe your reference carefully to capture these subtle differences accurately. In Steps B and C, continue refining the features, adding details to the hair and clothing. Always use a live model or a photograph for guidance, rather than relying solely on imagination. Finally, in Step D, observe how brush and Indian ink techniques are applied to create the effect of glossy black hair. Leaving small white areas unshaded enhances the highlights, giving the hair a natural shine. Discovering your unique style. These final two subjects offer exciting artistic opportunities due to their distinctive features. As you progress through the steps, observe how the facial elements take shape and how depth and intrigue emerge through shading techniques. To cultivate your own artistic style, experiment with various mediums and approaches. Keep your lines fluid or make them precise. Explore both light and heavy shading. Your creative choices define your signature style. There will always be new subjects to challenge your skills and refine your technique. Drawing is a lifelong journey, and with consistent practice, you will continue to improve and take pride in your progress. Keep creating.